Hey, what is going on, guys? Welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be continuing where we left off with the first issue of Avengers Twilight. So if you didn't see the last video, make sure to check it out. I'll link it right here. If you did watch it, welcome back and let's continue. So on this talk show, while Jimmy is basically trying to rile Steve up and try and deter him from talking about this Read Between the Lines series and prevent him from gaining influence again and scare him off back into hiding, he starts to drag up a lot of the stuff that happened on H-Day. And as we learn later on in this issue, this is a very big point of trauma for Steve. So Jimmy knows absolutely what he's doing here. He's actively punching an open wound in hopes that that will knock Steve down for good. So all of this begs the question, what exactly was H-Day? Apparently H-Day means Hero Day. It's basically the superhero equivalent to September 11th. It's not like a holiday, it's more of a remembrance day, a national tragedy, where apparently a bunch of superheroes' identities were exposed, which caused a lot of ambushes, a lot of attacks, a lot of fighting, and just a lot of death and destruction. On H-Day, heroes were lured towards their loved ones and ambushed by enhanced groups of supervillains. All of these heroes were on high alert, very paranoid, just trying to get their loved ones safe. Every superhero's worst nightmare was happening on this day all at the same time. In a flashback, we see Captain America, Black Widow, and She-Hulk in a jet basically trying to do crisis control, trying to prevent any more deaths. They land on the ground with a lot of fire, a lot of rubble, a lot of destruction, buildings just decimated. Captain America walks through the fire, walks through the rubble when he hears someone groaning off in the distance, and he realizes the groaning that he hears is coming from Spider-Man. As we can see, Peter has been unmasked and impaled, sitting there in a pile of rubble, just dying, just bleeding out, just left so cruelly to die slowly and suffer. He says, "Hey Cap, you should see the other guys," very weakly, and then continues, "Cause I sure didn't." So he doesn't know who attacked either. We have no idea who this group of supervillains is, or again, how they were enhanced, or how any of it happened. It becomes very clear very quickly that this is not just a walk it off situation. This is not just a get up and heal type of thing. We're witnessing Spider-Man's last moments here. Peter tells him that he got Aunt May out safe and asks him to promise to keep her safe. But then weirdly enough, he also asks if he'll keep his identity safe as well. So apparently these superheroes are having their identities exposed, but not to the public, only to this specific group of supervillains. And just like that, with the Avengers at his side, Peter Parker dies. Jimmy mentions that Bruce Banner also went manic during this day, and Hulk caused even more destruction and killed even more people, you know, just to make the circumstances of H-Day even worse. However, Steve jumps in to mention that they later learned that it was Ultron enhancing the villains, but Jimmy just interjects and fires back that, again, that's a problem because of the superheroes. You know, Ultron was a byproduct of the superhero community being invented by Hank Pym. So the argument here that Jimmy is making is that there's no real difference between heroes and villains when the heroes are self-appointed vigilantes and the villains are only known as villains because of the media's portrayal of them as such, and that in reality they're all criminals and they're all causing destruction. And this is the idea that the docuseries Read Between the Lines is apparently aiming to explore, how someone's entire identity can be controlled by the way that the media portrays them. And so if someone like the Red Skull fights someone like Captain America, who the media has already deemed a hero, then Red Skull automatically becomes a villain for going up against him. And you know, obviously we know that that's all BS as the readers, because we know that Red Skull is obviously a villain. We know he's a terrible person. But it's interesting because you're not supposed to agree, but he's still right. You know, they are all criminals because they're vigilantes. Vigilantism is a crime. It's just the way they're looked at because of their motives, even if they cause the exact same amount of destruction in situations like this. And you know, the really terrible part is that he's doing exactly what he's talking about, using this interview appearance to try and push a Nazi fascist back into the quote-unquote good column and knock Steve down on account of the FBI. His customers, who we've already seen, don't want him to come back into the world. Basically what this issue does is perfectly showcase how the media can be weaponized against whoever and whatever they want. You know, so H-Day is this day in history where catastrophic losses took place, and both the superhero community and innocent civilians suffered greatly for it, and it all just imploded. So now it's remembered annually on August 13th, the day that it happened, and was basically used as a reason to justify more governmental control, and basically is what allowed this martial law society to be implemented, to come down harder and criminalize a lot of the more mundane things like using a smartphone. This is why I think this is such a great Captain America story, is because the government basically used this tragedy to hinder a lot of freedoms, and that's part of why Steve is so miserable, because in a lot of ways he's powerless to stop it now. You know, that was the day that he lost everything, and he's constantly reminded of it every year, and now the super soldier serum is out of his body, and he has to deal with constantly hearing widespread misinformation about it. You know, he has to listen to lies being told about the day that he witnessed Peter Parker die, where he witnessed a lot of his friends' final moments. So when he says no one cares about the truth anymore, he's right, and that's why it's killing him so much. But yeah, just like the FBI wanted, Jimmy was able to successfully hinder Steve's attempt to battle this misinformation on the live talk show. Steve storms out, just riled up, just like Jimmy wanted. That sends him into a panic attack, into what very clearly is a PTSD episode. Lots of anxiety, lots of just crushing weight of fear and anger and regret. And while Steve is having his panic attack in an alleyway, a group of masked agents come and put a bag over his head and kidnap him. And eventually we see that they take him to Luke Cage, or rather Luke Cage's hideout. Luke wastes absolutely no time telling Steve what's going on, claiming that there's a war about to happen, and telling him that Matt Murdock is dead. He continues by telling him that the government and S.H.I.E.L.D. are squashing political dissent, and that the new fake Avengers that we mentioned in the last video are laying waste to countries overseas. And the only reason none of this is known, and is only known to him, because it's being blacked out by the news, all because the government has so much control that they basically control what people do and do not see on the internet, that this whole time he's been trying to build up a rebellion to fight back, in hopes to recruit others and spread the truth. But Luke says it's not enough, because people need someone to rally around, someone like Captain America. So in the last video, when I mentioned that Luke said he had his own thing going on that he was working on, but he was kind of vague about it, this is what he's been working on, getting ready for a revolutionary war against the United States government with this new group of defenders that he's basically mentoring now that he doesn't have the body to fight on his own anymore. And this is basically him ushering Steve in, if anything ever happens to him like it did Matt. But as we know, Steve said that he didn't have the super soldier serum anymore, so how is he expected to help? How can people rally around him like Luke wants? Well, that's where we meet Carrie, who has apparently been working to recreate the serum so that she could give it to Steve. And with a lot of hesitation and reluctance, Steve agrees. He sends a voicemail to his wife Rosa, apologizing for sending this message as a voicemail instead of seeing her in person. He tells her that he's not going to be home for a while, and we see that that's true as the days pass by. They run more experiments, he does more exercise, he gets back in shape to take the serum and prepare to be Captain America again. But he tells her that he can't do it all by himself. And we end the issue off with him telling Rosa that he's going to reassemble the Avengers. But yeah, man, this series looks like it has a ton of potential. Chip Zdarsky and Daniel Acuna, great creative team for the book. I think the art is perfect for this dystopian world. Genuinely, just the whole premise I think is so well thought out. You know, everyone's kind of groaning at the idea of this book because Old Man Logan has kind of been done again and again. But I really think that this is something unique, something different, and speaks volumes about the political climate today. There's a lot of realistic stuff, even though this is a dystopia, which is very, very concerning. But that's just me, so comment your thoughts down in the comments below. Leave a like on this video if you enjoyed. Subscribe for more videos like this. That is it for this video, and until next time, I will see you later. Thanks for watching.